The webinar is now broadcasting. Delaney, congratulations. You're the first in. Welcome. Man, I saw that. I just had to say hello. I couldn't help it. It's like reaction. I just, I can't help it. Justin, so good to see you. Ashley, um, again, all of you guys that have been tuning in week after week. This is fantastic. What a gift it is uh, for me personally, Will, to get to facilitate and kind of moderate these conversations. This is a joy. I mean, this industry is unlike any other industry, and the relationships and friendships we make here, just they really do touch us because I think. Unlike so many other things, we've got so many things going on in front of us, all around us, so many different fronts that we're facing challenges in and trying to really survive through right now. This has become just a real joy and a highlight of my midweek. So good to see you again, Will. How are you doing?
Good to see you, Josh. I'm fantastic. It's interesting you say that. I just got off the phone with Richard Patterson with the Cultural Heritage Association. Was on one of our webinars not too long ago.
That's right.
And we were just chatting about how much things have changed since that conversation that we had just 5 or 6, 6, 7 weeks ago. And just obviously the importance of keeping this industry and this community network together, because I know there's nothing more that any of us want to do than get back together and see each other face to face and have those conversations rather than the Zoom calls. But in the meantime, I thank you so much for taking the initiative and making this happen, because this has been a really exciting project over the course of the last, I guess, since March.
Yeah, and Zoom fatigue is real, right? Let's just introduce that. We totally get that. I think all of us have probably had our fair share of Zoom meetings, back-to-back Zoom meetings, probably even still. And so, we decided a couple weeks ago to pivot to an every other week format, and we're really glad for today. Glad for Sonya, for you to be joining us. Thank you. And Anne-Marie, so good to see you as well today. I hope the two of you are doing well. You're staying safe and healthy, and your family and friends are doing well as well. And again, we've got 64 tuning in now, which is great. Jamie, good to see you. Jamie, so good to see so many familiar names. Dina, good to see you. Corey, really good. I'm waiting to see if our some of our regulars, right, Will, we've had so many attend over the last months. It's interesting to see their names, and it brings a smile to my face.
It's amazing. Since we've started this, we've had over 5,000 people register for Connect Travel webinars, and you just think about that. Over 3,000 people, individuals have joined in at one point or the other. So it's proven to be a really cool, I got to tell you, I haven't shared this, but on Friday, I'm going to a conference in Orlando about putting together a conference in this new normal. So there's hope that we will all get together in person, and we're looking forward to inviting you all to the eTourism Summit in October in Las Vegas at the Wynn. A good friend and another Darren Dunn actually told me that on his road trip that when they took their whole road trip across the country, they spent a couple days at the Wynn, and said that was by far the best hotel experience they'd seen. And he said, so once I knew that, I knew you're gonna be able to pull it off. So we'll have eTourism Summit this year. Our 21st year will be in the whole month of October. We'll have 21 days of virtual events and then 2 days live and in person at the Wynn. So looking forward to getting back to a little bit of that and seeing our friends face to face, but certainly encourage everybody to take a look at eTourism Summit. We'll be releasing the themes for the 21 days next week. We've got an individual pass, a company pass, and then an all new community pass. So you can share all the digital content with all of your marketing partners within your community, which I think is a really cool new addition to share, like we're doing here, best practices and help everybody kind of come out of this shutdown better and stronger. Because Josh, I don't know, I was going to tell you this. I think when everybody starts coming back, it's going to be like the Wild Wild West, right? Everybody's going to be running, gunning, kind of ready, set, go, and charge. And I think the extent that we can work together and learn from each other to make sure that we're all working working smart instead of working hard will benefit all of us and our community partners as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We've certainly heard from lots of different leaders over these last several weeks about the challenges they're facing and the, you know, learning to deal with things from, reduced staffs to reduced budgets to, shifting and pivoting of marketing plans and dealing with internal challenges, both inside their cities and destinations and small businesses, main streets, and much less thinking about culturally and, what is the mind of the consumer and how safe do we feel? And are we even venturing beyond 50 miles, of our homes and stuff like that? So these webinars, and I'm excited for eTourism Summit in October too, because I know that it's going to be, it's just going to be a great time again for those that can be there in person. But then, the addition and aptly for today's topic, the pivoting and innovating of that event to incorporate virtual components, right? And I think the ability for you to offer it as an extension for partners inside of our destinations is really, really great. I think that is so needed for us to act as a destination, right? To elevate all of our acumens and thinking and ability to work together. So that's going to be really cool. I'm excited about that. And it looks like we got 79 tuning in. Kim, good to see you. Catherine, I saw Patrick Lennon joining in too. So good to see you, Patrick, my friend. I miss your face. Yeah, let's kick this thing off. You guys probably know, you've tuned in. You may see these faces in front of you. You may recognize them. I hope that they become fast friends to you, because they have to me too. And it really is, I said this already, but it is an honor and a gift. Anne-Marie and Sonya, thank you so much for tuning in and for joining us today. How are you doing?
Well, we're doing, I was going to say, we're doing great in Prince William County. Our hotel occupancy keeps going up, and the team here, the tourism team here has done amazing things over the past 2 months. I'm just blown away at our ability to react under these circumstances and to collaborate. That's been huge for us.
Yeah, I love that. Sonya, how about you? How are you and your team doing?
We're doing okay. I mean, it's definitely rough out here and I realize that's for everyone, but we're a destination that relies more on the conventions and meetings market. So I think we all know how that's been hit. We're seeing a little bit of folks coming through for some leisure travel for the weekends primarily, but all the hotels are open, so that's good. And ideally, we just are working to get the state back on track to bring more people through. I mean, we kind of had a maybe a little bit of a false alarm back before July 4th when they actually opened the hotels for leisure travel, but then we had to take that off line again. So anyway, that's kind of where we are. And again, like everyone, just kind of getting through this the best we can, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, that's one of the things about these webinars and these conversations that have been so impactful, is because we really do connect with each other well, because we're surviving together. I mean, we really are all in this together. We may be in varying stages or phases of reopenings, but we're facing a common challenge. And so I think that there is a unifying principle to that, which is really, helping us. And so today, we kind of want to focus on thinking about, what pivots are you guys doing? How are you seeing? Are you thinking about when innovations have you seen? And are you wanting to continue to see, right? And Will and I, we were talking about this, and we, over the last several months, have continued to see great destinations do great things, great initiatives, whether that's from, Visit Lex and their Nourish program, to what Savannah's done, to what even your neighbor not far, Sonya, with Stockton has done. So there's been all kinds of things from all over that we've looked at and have been really impressed with their ability to move quickly, and Marie, to your point, to collaborate, do all these kinds of things. And so we just kind of want to have a conversation around that today. And for those of you that are tuning in, again, you may know this, you're probably the Zoom experts, but there's a button at the top. You can change your view from speaker view to gallery view, so you can see all of us at the same time. And that might be a little bit better view for you. And of course, feel free to say hello in the chat. There's a Q&A button. Reach out, ask any kind of questions you want. We'll be sure to get to those, as we can. And but let's just, Sonya, why don't we start with you, because I love that, you talk about meetings and how you are primarily, you rely heavily on meetings. What would you say that mix is for you from a visitation point of view? How much do you rely on meetings?
Yeah, our meetings market, our mix, if you will, is somewhere 75, 80%. It's huge for us. Being the state capital, we get a lot of business, a lot of state association business. People who have to do business at the Capitol, their ledge days, et cetera. So we heavily rely on those meetings and conventions. National associations, as they start to do their rotations through California, we pick up that business every couple of years. And youth business, again, we have space for youth, big youth organizations like YMCA to come in and those sorts of things. So the impact has been huge for us. Certainly there are cities like the San Francisco and LA's have had the same issue. For us, of course, the silver lining, if you will, is that our convention center was actually offline this year and part of end of 2019 because it's actually going through an expansion and renovation. So in some sense, we were, I'll use air quotes, lucky, but we are definitely, the hotels are definitely feeling the effects of the lack of meetings and convention business, as well as our restaurants.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that. So when did that renovation start?
Our renovation was in fall. I believe it was in fall of 2019 when the building went completely offline.
Gotcha.
And we had, we communicated with obviously the hotel. So everyone's expecting that, right? The pandemic was a completely unexpected. That's the main difference for us.
And so we were talking earlier this week too, and you were describing how some of the questions even that planners have been asking you, and as your team is pivoting to deal with, some of those requests and those questions has changed. So talk to us a little bit about that.
So much that was around, think of the convention center was closed, but think about the hotels, right? The hotels have had, my heart breaks for a lot of these hospitality workers in the hotels. They didn't have staff. They had furloughed or laid off staff. And so we literally became a de facto hotel sales managers, because if our clients couldn't meet someone at the hotels, they were calling us to help them. And either we were able to funnel them to someone at a hotel or be able to answer their questions. So in a sense, we became an extension of a lot of our hotel sales team. And fortunately, we always had a very good working relationship with them, but that became a big part of what we were doing. And then the next thing, of course, is helping them reschedule and the cancellations that were going on. But I think a lot of the team that we have in place doing that just was really, at that time, or all time, it's just working to help the customer as much as we possibly could.
Yeah, I loved how you phrased it. It's like the way that you think about connecting your customers to your suppliers, right? It's more than just a one-time facilitation or one-time connection. I love how you were talking about that. I mean, you really are doing a whole lot more of an integrated, approach to that connection, right? Our industry is, I don't know what the next normal, to use DI's phrase, will look like, but our industry has always been built on relationships, and the stronger of our relationships, it carries through to whatever we do, right? So, Anne-Marie mentioned collaboration. That's, within our local community, that was a big shift for us, how much more effort we put or energy we put into working with our local community. But the relationship is key, and knowing that our team was able to pick up the phone or respond to the email, because I'd say the unknown and the uncertainty is what's weighing heavily on everyone right now. So for us to maybe take a little bit of that off their plate is very helpful. Yeah, and Anne-Marie, I didn't know this necessarily, but I love knowing this now. I mean, when we were thinking and kind of prepping for this, what's so great about this is, Sonya talking about what a heavy mix she relies on for meetings, but you're really the exact opposite of the end of the spectrum. You are far more a leisure destination, right?
Leisure, government, and business travelers are our primary mix. Being in the DC marketplace, government has been a big part of the downturn of our hotel, occupancy.
Mm-hmm. And leading right up to here, I mean, I'm sure like everyone, one of the things we've been talking about is we've had, multiple years of great success, right? Record after record year, when it comes to occupancy, ADR, RevPARs, these benchmarks, visitor spending, everything like that. So how have you guys kind of adjusted, and what has conversations with your team been like as you are trying to pivot and really innovate how you do what you do?
Well, our occupancy in Prince William County, Virginia in March was 30%. April was 30%. May was 40%, and June is around 50%. So, we are very happy with the way things are moving in terms of hotel occupancy. It is much better than we expected. And in terms of pivoting, we have been really focusing on making the connections within the community, being, beacons of hope and encouragement for our community, because we're really the only, agency in the county that's primarily focused on bringing positive messages and that destination, branding message, to our community and to the world. So we've really been, focusing on who we are and introspective, like many of us have personally as well, just kind of like, wait, what am I, what do I stand for? What do I believe in? Who am I? And we've been doing that as a destination, and recognize that, for a long time, we wanted to be like Sacramento, right? We want the convention center. We want the meeting space, and we aspired to that, really pushing for that kind of investment here. And what we've learned is that because we don't have those investments here and relying on that type of business, our recovery has been better than a lot of our neighbors, because we're still in a great drive market. Route 95 and Route 66 right outside of DC, coming right through. A lot of construction going on here. So we've benefited from that, keeping our hotels, moving in a positive direction. So we're really, really fortunate, I think, here, the location as well as the mix, but embracing, who we are, we're getting ready to move forward with a, drive campaign, really going after the drive market. And one of our assets that we've promoted, but not as heavily as we're about to, which is our open spaces. We have more open space here in Prince William County, in the DC metro area than anyone. And so, 3 national parks and, trails, and other local parks. So that's going to be our focus moving forward, and really embracing who we are and what we have.
I love how you phrase that. I mean, I even like notice myself going, it just existentially what you bring up is so good, because it's really powerful. And I think there's been so many destinations and brands doing that, certainly as you talk about from a personal standpoint, but also like as a destination, who are we? What do we stand for? What kind of destination, prior to this, it's like, I know at Streetsense, our team, we are involved in helping facilitate a lot of these conversations about destinations trying to ask themselves those questions. Who do we want to be when we grow up? You know, who do we look at, and would we, you know, kind of development strategies do we want to do and go after, right? But now, I just love that you bring that up, because I think as a human, we can all understand a little bit better, I think, because of this, of what our audience is doing and thinking, you know what I mean? Of where they are, where they're sitting, because they're asking themselves the exact same questions, right? So there is almost this necessary component of, you know, part of the pivot strategies are to even ask ourselves, okay, hold on a second, let's step back a sec. Who are we as a destination? Is setting a goal of, you know, XYZ million visitors really, is that really who we want to be? Is that really what we want to become? Or is there a better strategy for understanding the types of visitors we want to have, right? And the volume of visitation at what periods, you know, are we too seasonal here or whatever, right? Probably Sonya, for you too, I would imagine similar, going, okay, what types of meetings, and are there meetings we won't entertain now, right? Are there groups that we, you know, as a destination say, no, we don't want to service that? I mean, I don't know. I'm just, you know, I'm asking here,
Sure.
but all of those questions are really, really powerful. Sonya, how is your team? You find that you guys have been asking those same kind of questions of yourselves?
I think not so much that in terms of maybe from the Sacramento brand, if you will. I think what we did early on, and Destination did this, is where we put more focus into our local community, adding support and engagement to, similar to what Anne-Marie was talking about. Yes, the bulk of our budget, if you will, is always spent on meetings and conventions. Obviously that drives the revenue, et cetera, to the hotels. But when I think what we pivoted is to our what I sort of picked as the top 3 priorities was meetings and conventions, content from a marketing perspective. And then the engagement with our local community and support. And we put more resources in terms of, you know, time from the staff into that. And then the third would be around the leisure travel, what's going to be our strategy to help drive more of that leisure travel. I think we did come to that realization who we are several years ago. If you haven't heard, we call ourselves America's Farm to Fork Capital because of our where we're located within California. We're close to most of all the farms and, you know, dairies and all those places that supply all the fresh fruits and vegetables to the entire state. In fact, we like to say what comes from our region really feeds the world, right? So we've kind of known who we are, and a lot of what we done, particularly early on, was how we could support those restaurants. Because remember, we knew they were in trouble because the convention center was already closed. So put this on top of it, what could we do as an organization to really use our social media platforms and our megaphone to drive as many local people to their restaurants and their places of business, just to help keep them afloat. And that was a big part of the, if you will, pivot that we did. We were already doing that, but it really became, super important when this pandemic hit.
Yeah, we've been hearing that a lot, and have certainly seen it, right? This we can call it innovation, I guess, but it's a really kind of doubling down or refocusing around local, right, and community and stuff like that. And Anne-Marie, you were telling us too, you guys were putting together some grants and participating in some micro grants to your community, right? Talk to us a little bit about that program and how you guys have been doing that.
Yeah, certainly. One of the first things that we did was a support local campaign, and it's still in effect. But the second thing we did was partner with our economic development department. They weren't able to be as nimble with their website because it's under construction, a new website, and it just didn't have the capabilities that we have. We quickly created PrinceWilliamCounty.biz, which is a page that exists on the tourism site, but it is a business resource page, and it is, the content is co-curated with economic development and tourism. There's a tourism section, but it's really been part of, our businesses being able to have a portal. So that was one of the very, very first things that we did in this. And then working with our communications department, we saw how we could get some positive messages out about how the community is caring for each other, whether it's, our food banks, our distilleries, making hand sanitizer, and distributing that. And then finally, the Prince William Pledge, which is a, business pledge to adhere to the Virginia Health Department and the CDC health regulations. We have over 100 businesses that are a part of that now, and we're getting ready next week to distribute free PPE to those businesses that have made the pledge. So it's been definitely a collaborative effort, and I don't think that our community has realized or embraced tourism more than they have in the past 4 months. We've really become, a resource and an inspirational, aspirational place to find hope.
That's
frankly. And I think that's what our industry is right now.
Yes.
That glimmer of hope, that we can get through this and get back to living our lives in a positive way where we can engage with communities. And that's a lot of the pivoting that we're doing with our marketing is that authenticity. We've always had outdoor spaces. We've always promoted them. That's not it. But what are we hanging our hat on now? What are we really going to place our emphasis on that is most attractive to visitors now? And that's health, safety, and well-being. And being outdoors is going to be a big part of our push moving forward. And working with our state tourism office, we just got a grant, a Wander Love grant from the state tourism office, and the Northern Virginia Tourism Partnership, which is all 5 jurisdictions here in Northern Virginia, are we just applied for a federal grant that we hope to get together, which has some workforce development components in it for the hospitality industry.
I mean, you're singing to the choir right now, preaching to the choir, or whatever metaphor we want to use. I love it. I mean, Will, I want to bring you in here because you got such a long view of different tragedies and maybe pandemics, probably not the right word to use there, but different crises certainly that you have seen the tourism industry as a whole kind of navigate around. How are you seeing this now, the phase that we're in now? To Anne-Marie's point, right? We've talked about this with the DMO and the destination leaders really becoming and needing to take even more of a proactive leadership stance at the table, so to speak, in many of these conversations to deliver this hope. But what are you seeing now as we continue to move along and get ready for school this fall?
Yeah, it's so fun hearing Anne-Marie and Sonya talking about the new collaborations that have come as a result of this. And I think one of the great strengths of DMOs are the ability to connect. And that's what you're built on, is right, connecting to travelers and meeting planners and everything. That's kind of in the heart and soul and the DNA of destination marketing organizations. And I think what we're seeing now is DMOs playing so much more of a stronger role of creating collaborations within the community for the community. And then tourism is kind of, and the meetings are going to be, we're all on them to come. Everybody's taking the time to build out partnerships that are going to be able to last through the good times as well.
You froze up a little bit. I was almost going to start to make funny faces, but I think we did get.
Just the power of the collaborations that have come out of this, I think, are so powerful. And if we're able to take that energy and create relationships and partnerships that are going to be able to survive the good times, that's what DMOs are best at.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely right. It makes me wonder, Sonya, if you have seen, anybody new maybe that's not the right way to put it, but right. But maybe has there been partnerships or that you've kind of sat in your chair and you've gone, man, I've been working at this, you know, and I'd love for this to be able to happen or whatever. Have you seen those? Have you seen any shift there locally for you and maybe new avenues and new pathways opening up that previously weren't?
I'll tell you, nothing jumps off, but I'll of course remember something right when this Zoom call is over with. It'll come to me. You know, a lot of it was strengthening a lot of the collaborations we had. What I was finding is how many more lay people, if you will, kind of learned how important tourism was to the destination.
Yeah.
Our organization and with our CEO has really took the lead, or just really made it one of our sort of core pillars a few years ago, to ensure that that our local officials knew what we did and why it was for. Like we always say, our overall goal is to we benefit the residents. Like that's why we exist. That's our sole reason for existing. And so that message, we've been banging that drum for the last few years. So a lot of the civic officials, local officials, key stakeholders, they got that. They were like really understanding. A lot of maybe early was lip service. And then we did that. But what I've found is hearing people who maybe hadn't heard from in a while, or who I may have come across at a takeout or something, were like, man, I saw your CEO on TV. Like, we got to get tourism back. We got to get hospitality back. And that's like, I mean, there were times when I was like, what universe am I living in? Because, you know, people knew us for some events that we put on. They kind of understood that, oh, you know, you kind of fill the convention center, but that's like car shows and things like that.
Right.
But the understanding of the economic impact of what meetings and conventions and events overall do for the community, I think is really what has started to take hold with the broader community.
And this is, you know, I hear you say that, and Will, we've talked about this too, but it's I'm measuring my words here, because the last thing I'd ever would want to do is obviously imply a lack of empathy, right? But it's oftentimes in life where we experience loss that really invites us, Anne-Marie, as you were talking about just a moment ago, to ask harder questions, and, you know, whether those are introspective or existential or whatever they are. So it's like, the fact that we're going through what we are now, and for our residents and for our local officials and you know, key partners that we really need and rely on, for this to be brought and made more aware, more top of mind as to the importance of tourism there and its impact. It's like, in the good years, you can't really, that's a hard message to do, because everything's just so good. You know what I mean? We're just, we see a report and check mark up 4.5%. Yay, pat ourselves on the back or whatever, you know? But it is in these kind of times that we are invited into greater awareness of those needs. And it has been encouraging week after week to hear these updates, very similar to yours, Sonya, about those kind of conversations and people coming to the table and saying that. Anne-Marie, what about you? Have you been, or Will, go ahead, jump in there.
I was going to just point out, I think, what is this, a classic example of the industry coming together and rallying other organizations. And that's what has been done in New York City. And the whole bringing together leaders of the community from, you know, arts and culture and shopping and media and tourism, sure, and attractions, but bringing everybody together and saying, how are we going to get out of this? You know, our destination is so reliant on international and U.S. visitors to make New York City a thriving destination. And what they did, bringing everybody together, getting the agencies working on it, and their new launch of the kind of a lot like many other destinations are doing, you know, focus on getting the community out and celebrating and you know, and celebrating their community first, and then kind of building that out. But how they did that using so many community leaders all focused on tourism is just not something that we would have seen a couple of years ago. So I think it was just a super roadmap for every destination to bring everybody together in these times.
Yeah, for those of you that are on the webinar now, if you guys are doing something like that in your destination, let us know about that in the chat, because we'd love to follow up with you and learn more about it, obviously, so we can help help promote that and kind of shine the spotlight on that. And well, you mentioned a great segue. I think Anne Maria was gonna invite you to tell us about what you guys are doing, because you mentioned some really engaging some local sports celebrities and stuff like that, right? About and doing some things differently there to try to do some of this similar kind of messaging. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Certainly. So when the Prince William Cares campaign, if you will, launched, we decided that it would be a really good idea getting some ideas from our local chamber to engage with our local sports celebrities. So Benita Fitzgerald, the Olympic track athlete, and Nick Mayhew, who's on the U.S. Paralympic soccer team, are both Prince William County residents, born and bred here. And we gave them a call and said, hey, do you want to do some, videos about staying home and staying safe and social distancing and, all of the messaging that our county wanted to get out, especially in the beginning. They're still working on that, but would you care to shoot a video for us? And they did it on their iPhones. We gave them the script and asked them, told them kind of what the messaging was, and they sent it over to us, and we were able to not only make the connection with these great celebrities, sports celebrities from our area, but we have, forged like really nice relationships with them now where, when we have, our sports tourism events, or we need them to, come out to connect with our youth, we're able to build on those relationships. So that was really an exciting project to work on. It really felt good, and it made our community feel good that we are all in this together.
I love that. It reminds me of a campaign when I was at Visit Franklin years ago and doing something similar. I still am amazed at engagement online. What do we look to engage with? How do we look to share content? And just thinking through that a little bit and go, I love that you're doing that, because our locals, obviously there is a measure of pride that we take with where we live, where we choose to raise our kids, where we choose to go to church or mass, or where we invest, where we drive by an empty storefront and we go, I'm going to put a store in that one day. You know what I mean? Like we cultivate these dreams and stuff like that. And to kind of capture some of that spirit in this, especially in this time. Just to your point about messages about hope. I mean, those are extremely powerful messages, and great campaigns and great strategies for creative to really get us all, again, rally, support, build connections, drive collaboration through creativity and trust and everything else. And so I love that. I can't wait to see it. Are any of those live right now, or are they still being developed?
No, they are. They're on our county Facebook or YouTube channel. So Prince William.
That'd be great
yeah.
We'll find a link to that and post that, because I'd love to share that too online. That's fantastic. Sonya, are you thinking about, are you doing any kind of similar campaigns, or, whether that's either for meetings or leisure? How are you beginning to think and pivot there from a strategy standpoint?
A couple of things. We were doing, we did our first series of podcasts last year before our big festival, our Farm to Fork Festival, which is held in September. And we were planning to restart again, and I think it was February or March at any rate. And so we paused it, not kind of sure what direction things were headed. But we decided to restart the podcast in a smaller version, and pivot to more local messaging in terms of who the person we were interviewing, what their relationship was to the community. And early on, we talked to one of our partners from a local supermarket who talked about how they were maintaining their stores to keep social distancing and make sure it talked about, everything from how much toilet paper was in stock to, what the plans were for making sure they stayed fully stocked for residents. Normally we would have had her on to talk about what they would be doing at the festival, right? And which would have been totally fine, because at the end of the day, we're trying to drive visitors, to Sacramento with our podcast. But we really started to just look at it from a community perspective, because we felt that we could offer that. Again, I love that, provide a little bit of hope to the community during this time. We had a great one from one of the restaurateurs, and at the end of the podcast, she was literally tearing up because she was saying how much she loved how Sacramento was responding to her. She was, wow. She had to switch to curbside. She had to make all these changes, and she was just so grateful for the community in helping her and mainly keep her team, employed. That's at the end of the day, that's right. Everyone's trying to do. So we've just had a series of podcasts of people that we probably would have had anyway, but we shifted the messaging, and that was a big part of it. And we've been doing it every week since, I want to say April, and again, speaking of collaboration, the gentleman or the company single solopreneur who's been doing this for years, he understands podcasting, worked with us to lower the cost, but we kept him employed. So, those are sorts of little things, and that's not a little thing, but those are things that working with our community, I think, has proved invaluable. And again, offering that hope. And lately we decided, so we were thinking about this tourism, local, leisure campaign. And a couple things happened, right? The state had to pull back its reopening. So we didn't really want to release it. We didn't want to seem tone deaf, certainly inviting people. And in a sense, and this was for me, I thought, I got a gut feeling. I also didn't want to be irresponsible, right? I didn't want to tell people to come and visit. As much as I knew the hotels were hurting when people weren't ready and, there's too much uncertainty. So I said, why don't we just ask our community to mask up? Let's just get people we've asked our community people, send us a 30-second video telling Sacramento why you need to mask up and help us slow the spread. And it was simply to do that because I knew, again, we have a huge following, and I believe that, in a sense, when we talk, people listen. And so I wanted, that to me is, of all the messages that we can deliver right now, that seems to be a key one. It's easy to say, come and visit, or, we've got all this great stuff, and we do, and we still have that content available. But and it was really a gut check for me. I'm like, let's ask people to do what the collective good. I don't know how much an effect it will have, but I think if we all do that, then we all can get back to what we want to get back to.
And I think, Sonya, that's a smart marketing move in today's environment too. I know there's 2 surveys came out this week, one from Destination Analytics, as well as a survey from Longwoods. It said that people are more likely to want to go to a much more, I think 67% or 70% more likely to want to go to a destination that is promoting masks.
Yeah. Yep.
So your gut instinct was dead on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, we've seen from our, Gen Z research at Streetsense, it's like Gen Z influencing the travel spending behavior. One of the key things that they are looking at, right, is are you supportive of this, right? Are you publicly, do I know that you are in favor of this, and
right.
do I agree with it, right? And so that's been huge. We're seeing that too. That's great. I love the podcast, man. That is so great. I've got to subscribe to that and listen to it.
Please do visit Sacramento Podcast. Please do.
That is
we're
so
on
fun.
iTunes. Yeah.
That is so fun. It makes me think. I mean, Will, there was. I feel like I'm going to miss the time, but maybe it was, I know it wasn't last year, maybe it was, but a year before last at Detours of Some, we had a session about podcasting in the DMO space. And we should do it again, this year. That should be a topic for sure, because in fact, I think it was mentioned in the travel vertical, right? That just was published this week. I know Relic, Adam at Relic is a good friend, and he's been on the webinar this summer as well, but they do that, and we do that as well at Streetsense with our partners and destination partners. And so what a creative opportunity to storytell, right, and engage. And you both have, talked about authentic storytelling in various components in various ways, right? So and podcasting as an industry is just, continuing to grow. I mean,
it's blowing up. Yeah.
Oh, it is crazy. So what a great opportunity to take advantage of now. I can't wait. We'll have to get a link. I know Lori's on the webinar too. We'll have to grab a link to that and share that to the travel vertical as well, Sonya. That's fantastic.
A good collection. I noticed Bill Geist was on here earlier, and Bill's got a great destination marketing podcast, as well as Adam's destination marketing podcast. And it'd be fun to see who else in the space is doing it. If you know anybody that is, please share it with us, and we will put it in the travel vertical and kind of a roundup of all the tourism marketing podcasts that are out there.
And it just makes me go, Will, when are you going to do one with Connect Travel? I mean, you need to start one right there.
I have a face for radio.
I love it. Well, that just excites me to hear both of what you guys are doing and what you're seeing on the ground. And as you, are thinking about continuing to move forward, if there are any questions out there, feel free to drop them in the Q&A or in the chat here, and we'll get to them. We've got a few more minutes left, and I just wonder if you would both kind of contribute to thinking about this as we, certainly we're gearing up for the fall. Lots of destinations are dealing with, in school districts, right, are dealing with the challenges around virtual school versus in person, combination of the both. What do we do, and you still got various phases of reopening and volume of gatherings can we host, and on and on and on, right? So just with almost take us into your staff meeting, and what are you what are those conversations like with your teams? Because I'm sure you've got, a wide range of staff. Some are parents, some probably not. Some are in various stages of parenting. I'm asking selfishly because I've got three. I've got a 15-year-old daughter who's driving, and that scares me to death, right? But then I've got a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, and it's a challenge. And that is something that not just our staffs are going through, but we know our visitors are going through too, because it's their lives, right? And so take us into, your staff meeting a little bit, and what are those conversations? What have they been like, and how are you leading those?
Oh, well, I'll start. I mean, we are at the moment. We are down to about a third of us are sort of actually doing the work. We've got a third at a furlough and so forth. I would say right now it's everyone asking each other, "What are you doing? What are you going to do?" Everything depends on what our county and states decides will be done. We've always had, it's kind of one of those things where, again, before all this, if you were, I don't want to say sensitive or really amenable to really being very family friendly in your office, then that just literally has just carried over into this time period. If you weren't, then maybe it's been more of a challenge. But I would say for us in general, I mean, and it does, whether you had kids or not, for us, it was like, if you need to take a day off, take a day off. And you're working at home, sure, people may think one thing, but the reality is it's just as stressful at home. So I think for families, we're just like everyone trying to navigate the waterways here.
Yeah, I think for us, it's been about flexibility, and realizing that, when we're flexible, we get more out of our employees than we do when we, try to fit them into a box, especially right now. So, that's been really important, to be flexible. And I feel like, us as a team, we've got more work done in the past 4 months, remotely, because we're just, we have a very dedicated team, but the flexibility has enabled us to, balance the home and the work much more effectively. The other thing, I had another point on this, with the schools opening and education in general. we have put a lot of emphasis on the virtual tours, like our historic sites, you know, have virtual tours. We're talking about, you know, we're not going to be able to do sales missions for a little while, you know, with our team. So we're talking about innovative ways to get in front of planners, you know, where they can maybe have a, you know, 4D experience, you know, giving them a taste of Prince William, our, you know, our Steins, Vines, and Moonshine Trail, for instance, you know, our wines, our beers, our distilleries, our food, you know, how can we bring it to them and have it be a way where they can feel like they're in the destination, that they're able to taste it and really connect with us, because that's what we have to do now. We can't, you know, bring people in the way we were at, you know, at least right now. So that's really important. The virtual learning is, I think, the more destinations can embrace that and become a source for education, you know, with a better.
Yeah, that's great. I just want to, we're running out of time, and Matt asked a good question, Sonya. I don't know if you see this. He's wondering, what podcast service are you using? Novice to podcast here, he says. No worries. You're in good company, Matt.
I honestly don't recall the name, but I have put out a message, so I'll send it to you guys, Josh, and if you can send that out, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And Lori Jo posts a link here to the travel vertical, which is great. If you're not subscribed to that, I highly recommend it. It's really insightful. It's a great way to stay in touch and see what your peers are doing. And she does a great job at that. So definitely, if you're not subscribed to that, click that link in the chat and get that in your inbox. But Will, we got a few minutes left, and I'm just curious because you know, we've become good friends, and I'm take me into your staff meetings, man. What, you know, how are you leading your team, and what is the tenor and of those conversations like?
Well, you know, I think, again, you know, to stick with the theme for today, innovation and pivoting is probably the most important thing you can do if you're in the event business and the travel industry, right? So, you know, I think, again, one of the things that I just encourage people to do, and I can kind of have for this whole pandemic, is just it's hard because we have smaller staffs, and, you know, we're all doing 3 jobs, and it's hard to take that step back. But I've really tried to focus on is step back and say, you know, how do we focus on success? What can success look like? And I've been fortunate that, you know, our partners Connect in the meeting side has really been thought leaders in how to put together an event, and really being forward thinking on the you know, all of the intricacies that come with doing an event anyway, and then you throw on the pandemic. But then we focused on just really pushing our thinking and talking to as many people as we can to take a step back and say, how do we make this successful? So like the eTourism Summit, how do you turn which is one of the greatest networking kind of communities and digital tourism marketing, and make it bigger and better? How do you turn lemons into lemonade? How, you know, again, and I think for all destination marketers, and I love how we started this, and it's kind of fun, interesting that we come back to it at the end, is, you know, who do we want to be when we grow up? What's right for us? And that certainly applies to us and our team, but I think to every marketer in general, is that how do we really focus on what success looks like, and how do we, I firmly believe that if you know where you want to go, you'll get a roadmap and figure out how to get there. And so it's taking that time to define what you want it to be. My dog's
dog in the background, isn't it? I love it. It's awesome. Well, I love it. That's so perfect. I've had my door, you guys can't see this, but I've got a door here and I've got it closed because and I turned the barking machine on so that she wouldn't, you know, she wouldn't bark in the middle of today. But what a great hour. Thank you again, Sonya and Anne-Marie, for joining us and just for, you know, being candid and kind of inviting us in a little bit to where you guys are, what you're doing, what you're seeing. You know, your strategies you're putting in place, and everybody tuning in, thank you again. if we haven't connected online or LinkedIn, all of us are there. Feel free, reach out, drop a connection and request. You know, let's stay connected with each other and visible to what we got going on. And again, if you've not subscribed to the Travel Vertical, do that. We've got eTourism coming up in October. If there's anything I can do at Streetsense, please reach out. Be more than happy to do. And Will, any other closing thoughts?
No, Josh, I just want to thank you and mention that. Thanks, Streetsense, for allowing you to continue to moderate these and all the time that takes to go into it. I really very much appreciate your commitment to this process over the last, whatever, I can't believe how fast time flies and pandemic. But when I look down and we're in the 3rd week of July, it seemed absolutely insane. So that you've been doing this for a long time, and thank you. It's been a lot of fun, and we'll continue to do it again every other week for the marketers, just to kind of stay connected. And if you're anything like me, I expect that the world will be a very different place in 2 weeks. So we can start from zero. Don't know where it'll be, but certainly worth continuing the conversation.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Melissa, Matt, Marianne, Lucy, Lauren, Christy, so many of you. Thank you guys for giving up an hour and joining us. Jill, Jamie, Irene, again, Hannah, all of you that have tuned in, thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank
Sonya.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.